Hey friends, today is 9th of May 2020 and I thought I was done with our discussion on economics and finance in wake of COVID-19. But then Vivek came up with an interesting comment. There were a few other people who seemed quite interested like Jay Shukla, a few of my colleagues like Rajkumar from Mumbai, Tim from UK, William from Ireland and some of my new colleagues too. Then our buddies like Rajiv and Vibhuti would now and then comes up with the thumbs up. So it was a very interesting discussion and a time which I had. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you too did enjoy our sequel to The Money. Now, this episode I am just doing for the comment left by Vivek. I believe we all must give it a chance, give ourselves a chance to understand economics. When it comes to money, many people, including me, had been acting lazy due to our own lack of awareness or our own aptitude. But however, economics affect us a big time. We might believe that whatever we have achieved, at least financially, is maybe because of our persistence, hard work, or let's say smart work, which is all right. But I suppose the truth lies somewhere in between the fact that the economic conditions and opportunities available in our times is much better than any time in the history. I hope you probably will agree to it. Let's put it in a perspective from the start of the human civilization. Now, the first revolution was the agriculture revolution. What did it change? For the first time, the humans got a sense of permanence. They start getting settled owning a property. So what did it imply in economic terms was that if you want to own something you require a law, and because there were laws there was the civilization. So that is how economics somehow brought in the civilization. Then somebody invented a wheel. Maybe he was just having fun, but because of the wheel the long distance trade became possible. Now what did the trade change? Basically, if there is no trade there is no need of mathematics. I don't know if you gave it a thought, but because of that time when the wheel was invented, we as students and lot of children now just have to spend a lot of part of the youth scratching their heads learning mathematics and other topics. So basically, even in a remote agricultural society which today we consider backward society, there was the creation of laws writing the system of exchange and trade, and it was awesome. Then suddenly some clever textile men created a carding machine, and that was the first textile factory, and that kicked off an industrial revolution in England in mid 1700s. The 17th century was the one that just got us into a roller coaster ride. That was radical. Why was it radical? It was the first time that someone was paid to just work on a machine and be paid by a factor of the production itself. Now, this new economy created a different social order, and that succeeded for a very simple reason. Basically, it represented the efficient way of human beings to get the goods and services they needed to live and thrive. So I hope this much is something which probably we get it very easily, and most of us would say that oh, we know it or we understand it. It's quite all right. We must understand what's next. Money basically is the biggest motivator of our times. But what happened in the process? Like earlier in the agricultural society, the pundits, while everybody was speaking Hindi, they talked in Sanskrit, and now we know that they were only discussing some very simple and profound ways of living. Likewise, the people of finance have just made simple complex. And having made complexity out of such a simple thing, these financial advisors just try to sound intelligent. But once you find out what they have been talking of, like somebody comes you and sells you a mutual fund, and some time after it you realize that it was a rather foolish thing to do. But at that time he had sounded like the most intelligent person in the world who was just looking at your benefits. And quite likely he himself probably did not contemplate or understand what he was saying himself. So here, because of this, it is very uh, necessary for us to have a basic sense of economy. It is never too late to learn a few good words from the financial jargon and recognize that there are other meddlesome words. Now, before we just dive in the topic, take a break, pause it, and this was the lassi left from lunch. So there are some in financial terms, there are some few good words and there are some middlesome words. The good words, let's take one of it, which is cash flow. And the middlesome words, which probably will get you confused, is capital gains. And the other word is net worth. So we are just going to try to make sense of these three words today. Now, if you buy a piece of land or let's say stocks and hope the price will go up, so what basically you are hoping is you are putting your hopes on capital gains. But in place of that, if you buy a apartment or a house or let's say a truck and put it on rent, you are basically building your cash flow. So basically you understand, I believe, the difference between a cash flow and capital gains. Now, when we say net worth, it is just a measure of capital gains. So capital gains is if you buy a land or you buy stocks. So your net worth is just most often the measure of capital gains. Let's say you have 3 lakh rupees and you take 7 lakh as loan to buy a car. So technically the car did cost you 10 lakh and that is the part of your net worth. But if for some reason you go out and you want to sell that car, it won't sell off for 10 lakhs anyway, and instead you have to sell it for 7 lakhs. So in this case, your net worth is actually worthless. I hope we get around what we are trying to make sense of. So when we say net worth of a company, just be cautious that it may be as dubious as that of the car you bought. So I hope this is all right till now. Now, stock market and real estate are the most popular investment classes in the capital gains. Now, capital gains is something which we consider as a middlesome term, and stocks, real estate, and all these things are fall in that category. It may make some people very rich, and quite a lot of people have just made a lot of money just in real estate itself. But for most of us, we would only end up poor if we all invest in capital gains or put all of our investment in capital gains. Basically, capital gains are accumulated through hype of demand. The currency begins to lose value sooner or later, and then the hype is busted and the correction sets in. The gamble is over. And that is why a lot of people, because a lot of people are trying nowadays to just invest, put their money in capital gains. So there is a lot of hype in various goods or projects, and then because of that the economic recession cycles are closing down. They are coming faster than usual because a lot of money nowadays is just going in capital gains, and this capital gains is just a gamble. But if you actually want to play around in capital gains, it's the timing that matter. If you enter too early or exit too late, you will only end up getting poor. I hope it makes sense to you. Now, if you own a business, so when you own a business, what you are basically doing, you are appreciating the cash flow. All investments must be appreciated of, must have the appreciation of the cash flow itself. So whenever you are trying to invest, it should have a, or it should for you make a cash flow. Now it is like, you must have heard of the goose that laid the golden eggs. So it is just like owning that goose. So every day you get a golden egg. But while if you are targeting for a capital gain, then it is like planning to kill that goose, because you only make money from capital gains when you give it away. Now let's consider mutual fund. Now, in a good economic time, your mutual fund manager would just give you 20% of the profits, while the fund manager takes almost 80%. But when there is a downturn, you get to take all the risk. So you take 80% of the risk, while the fund manager would not even take the rest 20%. And this is in your agreement too. But just because the finance advisor, whoever may have consulted you, tries to make you believe that this is the safest way to take risk, you just fall in the capital gains trap. Well, there is either to take risk or to stay safe, but there is nothing like a safe risk. I will conclude it for now. I hope it was interesting for you, maybe a little insightful. You maybe picked up a few words or understood it a little better than earlier. Whatever it is, feel free to comment. You agree with it, you do not agree with it, or if you have a constructive statement to leave after it. Stay safe, be cheerful, and we'll see you around.